I think that everybody is in, so perhaps it's time to start. Good afternoon. We're thrilled to have you. I'm Bob Savalas. I have the privilege of serving as chair of the OCtech Foundation this year. And it's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and so many new faces this afternoon. On behalf of the OCtech Foundation Board, I'm pleased to welcome you to the campus for the first time in a couple of years, several years, and to the 2023 Home and Garden Symposium. The 24 men and women who serve on the Foundation Board are committed to ensuring that the college has sufficient resources in place to serve the students, the faculty, the college, and its programs. Thank you for helping to support the foundation and thus to secure funding for the college to do all the extra things that the college needs to do. Before we start, I'd like to thank Deborah Finkelstein, also known as Ms. Liberace, for her music before. Thank you very much, Deborah. I'd also like to recognize two of our major sponsors. The first, our presenting sponsor, South Carolina Lawn and Garden. And I know that Vicki Sutcliffe is here, if she would stand. Thank you very much, and to Greg as well. And also our signature sponsor, the T&D. And I know there's a contingent from the T&D here this morning or this afternoon. Can you stand? Maybe they came to eat. The T&D has been a long-time sponsor of this program as well. I'd like to recognize the other 50-plus sponsors of Symposium. Their names are in the program. You've seen them. It's an amazing number of people in the community who have come forward to provide sponsorships of various types of cash and in-kind gifts to make sure that the symposium runs well. You'll also meet, if you haven't already, the volunteer staff who have set up over the last couple of days, who will clean up after you leave, and without whom we could not have welcomed you, and without whom we could not have had the symposium. We'll meet our guests in a second. Staff will help introduce our speakers. They'll select door prize winners and help you to enjoy the food and fun of the afternoon. And with that, I'd like to just ask you to enjoy yourselves, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Walt Tobin, the distinguished president of OCtech, who makes everything happen. Walt?
Good afternoon. I heard the former president of OCtech just chuckle when Bob used the word distinguished. Maybe it's the gray. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Would it help to sell more tickets next year if we serve mimosas? Put that on your list. On behalf of the college, I want to welcome you to this afternoon's event. And I have just some brief comments. And there are 3 points that I really like to make. The first is that we are a local college. We serve primarily the residents of Orangeburg and Calhoun counties. We serve local students, some of which are single mothers, are attempting to begin a second career, or veterans returning to a career in technical education. And a lot of them are the first in their families to go to college. And we'll celebrate those students tomorrow at our spring graduation. The third thing is that we provide a local impact. So 65% of our graduates tend to stay in this area and raise their families and live and work. And so maybe you've seen a nurse at NUSC, or maybe you need an early child care worker to take care of your child or your grandchild. Maybe you've been to Marlene's like me to get physical therapy, or you've had a phlebotomist to draw blood, or an electrician to come wire your house. For the most part, those folks that you see are graduates of Orangeburg and Catholic Technical College. So not only are you here for the benefit of this event, you play a significant role, I think, in the impact of a local college, impacting local students, providing local support to this community. I thank you for being here, and I think you're in for a real treat today. I'm thankful that you all are joining us this afternoon. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. Everybody's looking good. A great crowd that we have here today. Thank you for being here. I'm also on the board, so it is a treat to have you here and to see you out here supporting our community. Usually in my day-to-day job, I get to talk about a lot of very boring stuff, very serious stuff. But today, I have the honor of introducing one of the most special individuals in my life. Janice Hudgins is going to be our first speaker. Janice and I have known each other over 30 years, long time. We grew up together in Moncks Corner, South Carolina, developed a friendship at a very young age that has continued through adulthood. It's been a very special relationship. Janice is an amazing person. She's an amazing friend. She's an amazing mother. She has 4 beautiful children that she gave a large majority of her life to at the beginning. A wonderful husband. Her family is fully behind her and supporting her all the way. As she was raising her children, she learned that where her passion was and is in the kitchen and in the home, and preparing food for those that she loves and sharing it with the community around her. She started out of her personal kitchen, making egg rolls, developed into private events, opened a test restaurant at the Workshop in Charleston, and has just recently, just before COVID, opened her first restaurant, Little Miss Ha. It's in Mount Pleasant in the Whole Foods Shopping Center. If you haven't had a chance to go, please do. It's amazing. It's different, unique, and delicious. She just told me a little bit ago that they're going to open another restaurant in St. Augustine to be open in spring 2024. She continues to do private cooking classes, private events, and there's one other thing I was going to think about, but I forgot. Anyways, she's one of my most dear friends, and when I think about this, is one of my funnest events, one I enjoy the most in Orangeburg. We like to create homes and environments that are full of beauty, goodness, and grace, and that is Janice. So, without further ado, Janice Hudgins.
Testing, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so honored to be here today. Can y'all hear me? Is this working right? I need to stand very close. Okay. So, yes, thank you for the introduction, Jenny. I'm so excited to be here all the way from Mount Pleasant. I grew up down this road, like Jenny said, in Moncks Corner, and I went to the College of Charleston, graduated with a communications degree, and never did I think I would ever have a restaurant or a career in food and beverage. But here we are, because a lot of opportunities along the way came along, and I just kept saying yes to these different opportunities. I love being at home, raising our family and my 4 children, and what I loved the most was just gathering at the table and making food for my family, which I have a very large family. I grew up with 3 brothers, and my family all immigrated from Vietnam in the late 70s. Most of them landed in Charleston and in Atlanta. And I grew up with 32 cousins on our side of the family. And so growing up, our Saturday gathering, our grandmother, she was the matriarch of our family. She had 8 kids, and we all grew up together, just like my mom would host most of our meals, and all of my aunts would come and bring their specialty dish. And the way that we show love in our family is not really through words and affirmation like that. If my aunt brought you a dish that she slaved over for hours, that's her way of showing love. And that is how I grew up, like showing love to my friends and my family as well, is showing through our food. And I think, for a lot of people, that's how we show our love for our families and friends. It's like, you're making this dish that you work on all day. And I wanted to just do that as well for our community. And so when I started doing this in 2016, I had a good friend that said, would you be able to do a private cooking class for my daughter's 16th birthday? And I was like, I never thought about doing that. I was at home cooking dinners for my family, 10 plus people every single night, with my mom and everything. It's like, how hard could cooking for 16-year-olds be? Sure. I said, yeah. And then the next month, somebody else said, you know what, I heard you're a private chef. Could you do another event? I said, well, really, private chef, I've only had one paid gig, but yeah, I'd love to do that. And so it kind of kept happening like that, and I would go to another event, and they would ask me to do some catering. They're like, could you cater a Christmas party for us? I said, yes, I would love to do that. And so at the Christmas party, somebody said they enjoyed the food I was making and said, this would be a great Christmas present for a cooking class for my friends. Would you be able to do a cooking class? I said, you know what? I have never done one, but I think I could do it. And so I said yes. And so what I've learned along the way is that, having those opportunities in life to be able to say yes. And I think what you're doing here today to give these children an opportunity to be able to say yes. And I think that's one of the things graduating from the College of Charleston. It doesn't guarantee you anything in life. It doesn't guarantee you a success path. But I think it does open doors and give you an opportunity to say those yes until you find one that you said, nope, I'm definitely not doing that, And I actually said for a long time that I would not open a restaurant. My husband kept encouraging me. He's like, I think people really want this. I think you should do this. And I said, John, I don't want to open a restaurant. That's so much work. And, I love the private dinners and the cooking classes that we've been doing. But a friend of ours who owns a restaurant in Charleston called Butcher and Me in the Daily, he said, I have this workshop that I'm doing, and if you could just come for a couple of months, just test it out. It's a test kitchen. We really would love, a female figure there, kind of a mom of the group, because there's too many guys in here, and we would love for you to kind of anchor it. And so I said, okay, it's only for a few months, and I'll say yes to it. So the 3 months turned into a year. And then that parlayed into opening up a restaurant in Mount Pleasant. And then here we are now here in front of y'all and about to teach y'all how to make some spring rolls, which is our #1 dish at the restaurant. We are fresh rolls. And we sold, I looked up yesterday, Johnny told me that we sold 14,000 spring rolls last year, not including catering involved as well. So we have a couple of different components to our business. We have the restaurant, Little Miss Ha, named after my mom, who I learned all of our Vietnamese food from, that inspired me to open up this business. I still do a little bit of private chefing, and we do catering and cooking classes as well. So what I'm going to show y'all today, I thought would be great for the spring, the summer. All these things that y'all can do here, it doesn't require a lot of cooking, a lot of fresh ingredients. Things that you can grow in your garden. So we have lettuce. I like to use green leaf lettuce, but you could use field lettuce, any soft leafy green lettuce. We have stuff that you can grow in your garden. We have cucumber. We have cilantro, mint. We do have shrimp. I use local shrimp. My mom has known Captain Tang for 40 years. He's a boat captain off of Shrimp Creek in Mount Pleasant, and he's provided us local shrimp since we opened the restaurant. And so we're about to gear up for shrimp season, I believe. I didn't want to go through the motion, of showing y'all how to cook shrimp, because honestly, we're from Orangeburg, I'm from Mont's Corner. Most of y'all probably know how to boil shrimp. I don't think I need to show y'all how to boil shrimp, but we have some great local shrimp here that I've boiled, I've cut in half and deveined. We have rice noodles here, which all these ingredients you can kind of find at the local grocery store in your international aisle now. And you just follow the package along. These are rice sticks here, and you just boil them until, just like any pasta, until they are al dente. You're going to rinse them off, and you're going to have these nice rice sticky noodles here. And then this is a rice paper here, and you can also find that at, I found this at, you can find it at Publix, you can find it at Harris Teeter, in an international aisle. So a lot of these ingredients, I think, it will be easy for y'all to be able to go to, to your local grocery store and find these things. You don't have to go to the Asian market to get these ingredients. And a lot of these you probably have, grown in your garden too, or can grow in your garden. So I'm going to get started and show you how to make this delicious, our most popular dish here. I would love to see if anybody from the audience wanted to join me to roll some spring rolls. So if I have any volunteers, I would love for y'all to come up and roll some spring rolls with me. Anybody? Yeah? Okay, come on down. That's great. It's really easy too. It's not hard once you learn a couple of techniques. I have some stuff already displayed here. This is how they end up looking when we're done. And so there's really pretty. Hey, how are you doing? Oh yeah. Come on, you all over here on the stage. Thank you so much. Hey, nice to meet you. I'll just stand over here. And so, Casey, I'm going to show you how easy it is to make fresh spring rolls that we roll just, dozens every single day at the restaurant. But this is something, you don't have to use these specific ingredients, I'm just going to show you a great technique on what we like to use. And then you can incorporate your own things. Sometimes I'll take like leftover, rotisserie chicken from the night before, and I'll make rolls with the chicken that I have from the night before, and just kind of repurpose those things, so you don't have to use these specific ingredients. But we're going to get started over here. This is a rice paper here, and it's very, very delicate, okay? So I'm going to roll one first, and then we'll roll one together. So what we do is this is warm water here. Now, the hotter the water, the faster you have to go, because it will get really soft. And so at work, I use cold water because I can roll like 10 at a time, and by the time I get back to the first one, the rice paper is ready to go. But I would just suggest using kind of warm water. And so I'm just going to dip this here. Actually, why don't you dip along with me? You can go ahead and do this along with me. And then you don't have to soak it, you just kind of rotate it and dip it in there. And then you're just going to put on your cutting board here. And then you just want to start with a base. So we have 3-leaf lettuce. I like to start with a base here. And I don't like to use a little ridge because it'll going to puncture your rice cake later. So you just want to kind of tear off some lettuce. And you're going to use this as your base. And I like to put it towards like the bottom third of your rice paper. Yep, right there. That's perfect. That's a perfect amount of lettuce here. And then I like to start kind of building on top of the lettuce. And as long as you keep everything within that lettuce, it'll all stay together and all about the same size. So I like to use about 2 pieces of cucumber. And I just use English cucumber at home and at work. And because it doesn't have a lot of seeds, and we just kind of make little sticks out of them. So I'm going to take 2 pieces of cucumber here. Just stay on top of the lettuce. And you don't want to overfill it because it's going to be hard to roll. I think that's the key too, is not overfilling it because then it'll break. And then I like to use some cilantro and fresh herbs here. I love cilantro and mint together. 2 pieces of them. This is like nice big mint here, leaves here. And if you don't like mint, you don't have to put it in. But these are the greens that we like to use here. That's perfect. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add the rice noodles here. And so I just like to use a small amount, but staying in that same size of your lettuce. Is mine too wide? It's a little bit skinnier, but it's fine. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. Don't worry about it. And I would a little bit more. I would overstep. Oh, it's okay, and it still tastes the same. Give me overstuff, and it's still gonna taste all good. So now you can tell that it's a little bit soft now, right? Okay. So now we're gonna start from the bottom up. We're gonna chop all this in and roll it twice. We're going to roll it over and tuck it in. Yep. Roll it 2 times. 1, 2. And so then the lettuce is kind of on top. And now this is where you're going to see, you can see how here, there, you can see the shrimp. So anything that you want on the outside, this is where you're going to put it, facing down. That's how you do it. So we're going to use the shrimp here, a couple shrimp that cut 3 pieces of shrimp. So the orange side, yes, that's what you're going to see on the outside. And then we're going to roll the sides in straight. So it's a shrimp. Yeah. Tuck and roll, tuck and roll. Yep, and that's perfect. And you did it. You did a great job. You do this at home. But I'm gonna show you other different ways too, but this is, I mean, that's exactly how it's supposed to be done. I mean, you really did a great job. I mean, I have employees that I've paid. Right? Yeah, that's great. Look, so we can do one more or two. I'll give you another one. I'll also let you do a fruit right now. Mango is really great. It's nice and bright. And so I love to do like a mango and avocado roll, and that's really, really good too. So we're gonna do the same thing you normally grab your right here. Dip it in here. And we're gonna do the same thing with like the lettuce. So I want to show the mango on the outside, and we're gonna do the avocado on the inside. So we're gonna do the lettuce on the bottom of the base here. And then a little bit of tomato here. Do you grow anything at home? Do you have a garden at all? I have pots. Yeah, yeah. That's okay, because you can grow like mint and pots and stuff like that. In a pot. It usually dies really quickly. I can't keep anything alive except my 4 children. All like the plants that we have at the top, they all die. I cannot keep them. I don't know if there's too much sun. Or I'm sure I've read my staff like, you know, having one of their moms and make sure she waters out the creation alive. But yeah, so I can my dad and my aunts, they have beautiful gardens at home. I mean my parents grow all this mint and lemongrass and everything at home. My aunt can grow a ton of things. I just did not inherit that gene. So I inherited it. So now I'm going to take a avocado, bright avocado here, and I love these avocado and mango together. That has a vegetarian option here. Okay. So the kinds of a couple slices. This will separate separately. Two, now it's too hot. And then we're going to go ahead and roll that. And then what you want to do, I want to put some mango, a little bit more sugar with mango, right? So share it out. Now with a little bit of bigger slices, whereas I'm going to put the shrimp in there. And make a mango roll, which is so great for the spring and summer too. It's really refreshing. Oh, it's okay. I'll probably roll it in. That's great. There you're perfect. If you were to do this at home or for a party, you can just display like this on a platter. I make a house pizza sauce here. This has 3 ingredients. I can't tell you all the secret ingredients. My mom gets really upset me sharing some of the ingredients. It does have, I'll tell you too, it has poison and peanut butter in it. And then it has a 3rd ingredient here. You do a little house pizza sauce here. You can spread it here on a platter. Or when we do catering, I usually just cut it in half, and what I do is I just kind of wet my knife, and I just cut it in half, and that way you have more bite-sized pieces, and it's a clean cut, and then you can put it on, you know, cute little displays like this, and have it out for guests, you know, so they can walk around with bite-sized pieces. But this is a great thing that a lot of people like to take to the beach, or they can take it to parties. If you want to keep it for a long period of time, I've got some saran wrap too, and so that will keep it from drying out. Yeah, so you can keep it in saran wrap, wrap it in a cool, cool dry area. You can leave it in the cooler if you want to, up to like 4 or 5 hours. I went to an event in Kiowa, I was doing a dinner in Kiowa, and we wrapped some But before the event, I think around 4 o'clock, we got some stimulus and graphics and the saran wrap. And then by the time I got home to Tequila at 11, well, it was still fresh and not hard. So I know some of you go to the grocery store, they have it cut pre-packaged at the grocery store. They're all rubbery, it's because they don't have it wrapped up in some time. They're not good the next day. They're not as good the next day. You can't really do it ahead of time, except for that day of.
Could you do other fillings, like you fit, like another
Yeah.
or even chicken?
Chicken, I've done, we do a lot of pork, and then use the same pork. You really could do anything. I mean, you could have a full buffet of different bell peppers. You could do so many different things. It's really what you want, but the key is like knowing how to use the right paper right, not soaking in too much, not soaking too much, and then over stuffing it, and then just knowing that the last 2 steps, the last step is just what you want to do on the outside. And that's it. It's really not a difficult tip. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Share, so, I grew up doing this with my family, and so I'm so happy to be able to share this with y'all. And I hope you learned something new, and I hope you enjoy doing this, learning this with me. So thank you so much for having me, y'all.
Janice, thank you so much for sharing your talents with us today. We really appreciate that. Okay, well, I think Janice is gonna take a few things down on the stage. So that means we're gonna go off some door prizes. So everybody get out their little ticket. Y'all got a little piece. Everybody get a ticket. Did anybody miss getting a ticket? Let's see. Is Wendy around, or I think they're right there. Now, will you bring down that roll of tickets? Okay. Get into it, thing. Okay, and if you have not gotten a ticket, raise your hand. Okay. Miss Faith will make her way around to you. And so while Ms. Faith is doing that, I'm going to take this opportunity to just thank some people who have made this day possible. First of all, I just want to thank Faith McCurry and her team. Faith McCurry, her new assistant, Anna Pageant, Wendy Clatter, Rachel Feisick. Without these people, this would not be possible. But we also had some really strong hands that helped us as well. And Lainey, Cornelius, Michael Gregg, they do amazing things for everybody. And let me just say, it's not easy being the only guy working with a community of women who are constantly marching orders. So we really appreciate everything they did for us and for the speakers. So we really do appreciate them. We also want to thank all of you for coming. It is because of your support of the college that we're able to have this event on an annual basis. I think years ago when they first started this event, I think they hoped that it would become an annual event. And because of the support of our community, people who donate auction items, y'all have made this a reality. So really thank you for coming, and we really appreciate that. Has everybody gotten a ticket at this point, Faith?
Anybody else get a ticket?
Okay, it looks like everybody has gotten a ticket. And so we had two very special event co-chairs this year, Blanche Weathers and Reagan Blanchard. Reagan, Miss Blanchard, I don't see y'all, but I know you're here. Oh, here's Reagan. It's hard to find you all the time. And then Miss Blanche is here as well. So if y'all would come up to the stage, I'm going to let y'all draw the names or draw the numbers, okay? And so one of the really kind and generous donors was the Plant Depot, and they donated these gorgeous ferns. So if y'all don't know, the Plant Depot is under new ownership, and they have very generous owners who have donated these items. So we really appreciate it of them. Okay? Yeah.
Faye,
Yes.
there's a bowl of tickets up.
Oh, Wait. We will, you know what? We're going to draw one ticket out of this bowl, and we'll draw the other ticket out of the other bowl. How about that? Okay? So it will be very equal. Okay. So look at your tickets, and I'm just gonna read the last four. 8, 7, 4, 0. Oh, right here in the front row. You don't have to walk very far to get your gift. And we'll just leave them maybe over here so they're, I'm sure it's not very convenient to have your chair done. Okay? And this is the other bowl. Okay. You draw. 8. Okay. 8, 7, 8, 2. 8, 7, 8, 2. I mean, the second row is just like the winning row this year. Congratulations. So yours will also be here at the end, and don't forget to pick it up, okay? Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much. Is somebody introducing Doris? Okay, Ms. Faith, will you write it?
I'd like to see everybody here today. Looks like a sea of spring out there, so thank you for coming. I think it's kind of ironic today because as Jenny got to introduce a lifelong friend, I have the same privilege today. Doris Hutto King and I have known each other for many years, and I dare say, Doris, we can probably go back more than 30 years. And my best recollection of Doris is when she was the head cheerleader of our cheerleader squad, and that tells you how long ago. It's like another lifetime. But it's just such a privilege to have her here today and be able to introduce my friend to you. Doris and I, like I said, have known each other for many years. She moved to Charleston in 1975, where she attended the College of Charleston, graduated from there, and really has enjoyed a very successful career in hospitality ever since then. Really more than 40 years she's been involved in this industry. As the owner of Special Events of Charleston, she's planned many memorable events, both large and small, and most of those have been in the Charleston and surrounding areas. She recently closed her business, but I don't think Doris is ready to step aside from entertaining and hospitality. So I think she plans to continue maybe in a consulting role with folks who would like to plan special events. She and her husband split their time between their home in Mount Pleasant and their home outside of Utah at the lake. And they are really enjoying now a new role in their lives. They have one daughter, Bryant, and Bryant lives in Florida. And so they are loving being grandparents to their 8-month-old granddaughter. Doris' mother, Miss Dalsey, grew up in Orangeburg. So I know, Doris, you have some friends and family here in attendance today, as well as some high school friends too. And so I'm very proud to introduce Doris, but I also want to let you know that her assistant today is Amanda Schuler. And Amanda is from Providence. That's where she and her family make their home, where I grew up. So it's a real privilege to be able to introduce a Holly Hill and a Providence girl to you. And Amanda is now a student at OCtech and plans a career in radiologic technology. After she's already an accomplished architect after graduating from Clemson. So we're thrilled that she chose to come back to OCtech to continue her studies. So Doris, at this point, I'm delighted to turn the program over to you, and I look forward to you sharing some of your best tips for Apple Entertainment.
Thank you so much. This is so much fun. This is a lovely event. And I'm excited that it continues every year because all of us love to entertain and to garden and to have parties, large and small. And it's just a wonderful part of my life. This has been the joy of my life, next to my family, of course. But to be able to be in such a beautiful city like Charleston and to be able to do so many events in every historic building, every plantations, private homes, all of that. And every party is different. Every client is different. Every location is different. So that means, Lord knows I've learned a lot of things the hard way and in every way. And it's just been really, really a joy. It's very rewarding, whatever you choose to do in your life, to feel like you really are helping people. And when somebody gets to do, gets ready to do either it doesn't matter if it's the graduation of your nephew eating barbecue in the backyard, or if you have to go to Charleston and have something for 500 or whatever. It's just a big job, and it's a pleasure. So that's what I've been doing, everything from 10 people to 2,000 people. And stories of, I'm taking notes at a meeting one time, and I said, now, how many people do you think you're going to have? This is like 35 years ago. Well, there'll be 2,000. Okay, and what are we going to do? Well, we need to have this on a tent. Okay, tents. Okay, for 2,000. We need to have lunch and supper for this company. Yeah, okay. Lunch and supper. And I'm writing this down. And we walked out of the meeting with this European guy that was just a great friend that was major force in Charleston. He said, Doris, how are we going to do this? I said, I don't know. We're going to figure it out. We're just going to figure it out. So anyway, I thought in the beginning here, I would just show you a few random slides. I mean, I'm not going to go on with what the slides are all about because that'd take all day. But I'm just going to show you a few things, mainly to show you indoor parties, outdoor things, tents, really pretty decorative rental things. You can rent now anything you want. Some of these will be like a mirrored and iron bars. And we've gotten past just putting a tablecloth on a table and having the wind blow and the Coca-Cola crates are showing underneath. We can choose to do some other things. So anyway, I'm going to show you right now a few slides, and then I'll talk some more about what. Okay. All right. Okay. This is a party. Let me get that microphone. This is a party in Orangeburg. Can you hear me? Yeah. This is a party in Orangeburg, actually. And I'm going to show a little more about this, but you can see that's a ceramic urn over there. That's kind of how you get started on something like this. You put your greenery, get your set, then you add your flowers and whatever. And you can see back there in the background, a really pretty bar. All right, all right, so that's Hibernian. This is I don't know where. And that was a big, beautiful urn, this tall. And I'll show you the trick on how to make a flower arrangement in a big, tall container like this in just a little bit. This was for an Orangeburg client, and I took inexpensive flowers, cut them off the stems, stuffed them in the front of that glass right there, then put the clear crunchy stuff so that the French tulips could stand up and I could pretend like that the stems went all the way to the bottom. See that little trick? This is at Alhambra Hall. We do a lot of things there. This is just a pot I found I don't know where, and we had a bat mitzvah in the building at Charlestown Landing, the Contemporary Building, and look how pretty. You can take something like that and stick flowers in it, and it just ends up being a really nice centerpiece because that is about that tall. So that was fun. And then the daddy had a plant. He sells apparel that made madras fabric in Indonesia or somewhere. He said, well, I can get fabric. I said, well, let's let that be the theme color. So that madras fabric right there came from the daddy. All right, here is Santee Canal, and this just shows you a very simple wedding setup. I built those columns, not myself, but I designed those columns with that arch. You just drop in the top, and it can just be so simple. The key here is to do it the right time of the year, not in July, and have the house that's right behind it shade this wedding area when it's time for the wedding. And believe me, we had it the other way. And when I got involved kind of late on a party, and I said, well, now what time is the wedding? She said 4 o'clock. And I said, well, when does the sun shade this? And she said, oh, I don't know. And so when we got there and everybody got to the wedding, well, they just almost died in this heat. You know, it was in the summer, in July. So that was bad. Now, that is sort of a typical restroom thing in the trailer. So you've got 2 ladies' room and 1 men's room. You have stairs that go out, handrails, you have lights inside, air conditioning, sinks, flushable toilets, all of that in these little trailers. And they're not that expensive. So if you have a second home or a property or a plantation or whatever, this is great to take if you do not want to overload your system for bathrooms. This is a clear tent, thinking where that is. This is at a plantation south of Charleston. And this is sort of how this goes up. You put the roof on first, and all of those ribs, you take the fabric here and pull it through and pull it down the other side. That is called a gable end that you see that's flat this way. You know how sometimes tents will be like that and then it'll have a hip end. Well, in a case like this and in many tents, you don't have to use that hip end. You can put that gable in, and if it's really pretty outside and you want some airflow, that piece can come out so that you have 18 or 20 feet up to the roof of the tent and the air flows through, because that's the problem. I don't use clear tents unless it is somewhere like Charlestown Landing that has a beautiful avenue of oaks, or somewhere like this with a very shaded yard, because clear tents mean the sun comes through, gets hot, fries the flowers, fries the food, fries the people, no fun. And so you have to be very careful about, and we'll talk about that. Oh Lord, turn it on. There you go. Okay, this is a very small house party, just in the backyard. We measured it out, 60 by 40, fit there fine. Put these chandeliers in, black and white dance floor. You can get anything you want as far as floors, walls, all that. I don't know. All right, up on this one over here was a party in Pinopolis. And what I did was there's a bracket that goes all the way through. We pull the power from the top. You don't want orange extension cords going from the side across the grass, going up the pole to the thing. So when the roof is on the ground, I have my power people put the line up at the tip top and pull it down to where I'm gonna put the bracket, which is where I hang chandeliers and where I climb up there like an idiot and do a flower arrangement or something to hide the mechanics. And see, that's how it looks right here. And you can add flowers to that, just whatever you want. This is a neighbor's wedding at Christmas. Now, these are different kinds. Let's see, who's in here from St. George? This was a Christmas wedding in a big tent. And that, again, remember that, these columns right here, that arch, this was for a DJ, but I didn't want this massive tent to just have a little dimple over here with a DJ in it. So we kind of built a little stage and made a nicer set. All right, this is a story that's important. My people, I won't say who they are, wanted to have a big wedding, not so far from here. We knew it was all or nothing. It was either going to be 10 people or 800. And so we had to think about that. And that's what you have to do when you have to think about a wedding or a party outdoors or whatever. In this case, they had a beautiful home, beautiful yard and garden, plenty big enough for a tent that was big enough to hold 800 people. So we started thinking about it. I developed the whole thing, priced it, listed everything, rentals, things, food, whatever, everything they needed. We thought about that. And you have to be very careful when you decide to do an outdoor party. If you are a relaxed person that goes, yeah, Doris, go ahead and do it. I'll see you that afternoon. Or if you start looking at the Farmer's Almanac a year in advance every day, and you are calling the weather people and all that, and you go drive yourself and everybody goes crazy about the weather, then outdoor parties are not for you. And furthermore, if you even decide to do it and you're somewhere in between, you need me or somebody like me to represent you to do this. This is, so my people said, no, we're not gonna have it in the yard, that's too much trouble, we'll go crazy. So they decided to have it at the Santee Convention Center. So I went in, and it's a massive building, not so cute inside, I'm sorry if anybody works there. But anyway, what we did was, we took a, what do you call the things that drive up to the ceiling? Anyway, a lift thing, and went to the ceiling and draped fabric and lights all across the ceiling, and all the walls of the convention center became like big, giant 14-foot windows with curtains. And then I knew that way we could make it look like a ballroom, like that. So that goes up 14 feet. This was a Christmas wedding. I had crystal lamps, pretty bar tops, and all kind of things. And you see how you can take a very plain building and make it very beautiful with just about $10 or $15. All right. This is just to show you that the rental companies, can y'all hear me? Yeah. Okay. The rental companies have fancy bars, they have wooden bars like this, you can put mirrors in them. Again, when you have a party, whether it's outdoors or in a big building, and it needs to look like the bar belongs there, you can rent all of this, okay? So those are 3 pieces right there. And then again, I put like crystal lamps. I think lamps are beautiful in these buildings. They make them feel a little homelier. That is Carolina Yacht Club, and this is just to show you when they had a ballroom, and they renovated that now, but the ceiling, not cute. So I would have to go in there and completely cover the ceiling with fabric. And again, it's expensive. And all the times I did that, they could have built on another building. And I don't know why they didn't. But anyway, you can get people, you can rent anything, and you can get people to do anything now. All right, there's another pretty bar that we used outside of the rice mill. Am I falling off the stage? Off the, at the rice mill on the Ashley River. And so we covered the porch with fabric. We brought this bar in. Again, those same, used those chandeliers hanging there. We had all kind of stuff in them. Okay. Here, this is something I'm going to demonstrate a little later. See, the one on the left is a part of a bat mitzvah that we were doing, that the thing was pink. And then this is too. This is a giant thing, bigger than that has a flower arrangement, bigger than that. And then we took these little umbrellas and stuck in it just to follow the theme of whatever we were doing. That's just a pretty mantelpiece at, can't remember where. That is another umbrella that comes in, and I'll show you how to do that, because some of these buildings, this is a cute couple here. Some of these buildings, you don't want to take a building or a tent, it's 26, 30, 40 feet high, and come all the way down from there and have an arrangement this big sitting on the table. You've got to work it to scale. You know, if you have these barn kind of places and all that they rent now, buildings that are everywhere, you want to have trees maybe in the corners and everywhere that have like maybe 10 or 12 foot trees that are either uplit or they have little white lights. You want to go from the trees to something else at this level like that, and then come on down so that the room feels like it's filled in. Lamps and things, that sort of thing. And it's worth it to do that because it looks so much better to go from the ceiling and on down. And if they'll let you and they don't have it, you can hang chandeliers from these people's things. And one time they said, well, you have 2 hours to put it up, 2 hours to take it down. I said, well, who do I have to pay what to get in early and get out late? And they said, okay, we'll figure it out. So this was a fun thing. This was a Christmas wedding that we did in pink. And this was a rehearsal dinner. And the bride and groom loved to hunt and do. So I said, well, let me get a wall. Do y'all have some deer heads? And they, yeah. I said, well, bring them and we'll put a veil on one and get the other one ready. So that was kind of fun. And it was a very formal wedding in the Motley Rice Building on the Cooper River. Really nice. So we took, Christmas things, deer horns, everything they love, and mixed, I made a chandelier out of deer horns. There's a chandelier I had to take in a building. I took several, and every one of those crystals was put on by hand, and so that takes a long time. And we can't be running out of there. And you can, like I said, you can rent anything or you can make anything. This was a place setting for that particular rehearsal dinner with the deer horns and so it was the natural and the crystal and the gold and all that. It was really fun. Here is somewhere that has that same bar that you saw that was black. I asked them to do it in gold and put the fabric in the back in white. And you can request that sort of thing. Pretty great. Was that it? Oh, this is a Christmas pink wedding at Carolina Yacht Club. We just took very simple saddles, loaded them with oasis, and just stuffed them full of flowers, right? You can see that. This is the rice mill again, where we had a blue themed party, and that's a rental bar, which makes that porch. That's so much better than just a table and whatever. I even went to Kirkland and bought that giant painting back there with the big old wave on it. So I thought I'll put some blue behind the bartender. Now, this is a wedding, and I'll click on from here. This was a wedding for about 200 people at the Cedar Room in Charleston. That's part of the old cigar factory. The room holds 500, 600 people. This was only 200 people. They wanted to get married in the back garden and then come in for the reception. Well, I decided it would look like 5 people were there if we had 200 people in a room that held 500 or 600. So what we did was we let the guests enter around the building, go to the back garden, have drinks and hors d'oeuvres, and I cut the room in half with this beautiful wall of fabric. All the way, it must have been 60 or 70 feet. And that was costly too. But we cut it in half so they went around the building to the courtyard. It was too hot anyway for anything. And then we invited them to come up the back stairs into the church. So I made this part of the room the church. And when they finished, there was a doorway there and a doorway there made out of fabric. And they went in. And the other half of the room was the reception, which all of that was the appropriate size for the number of people. Worked great. And rain or shine, that was going to work great. Everybody was cool. This was like October the 1st, and it was just hot as the devil. I knew everybody would die if they tried to have the wedding out of the back facing the west. This is old Alhambra Hall that we use a lot. There are those same bars. I know y'all think Doris didn't have anything else, but I rented these. What I did differently here, this room has very bad acoustics. So I put a 14-foot velvet wall all the way across that. That's a stage. That's a freestanding arrangement, boxwood and a planter box in front. But that velvet made on both ends of the room, made the room feel very different than it normally does. Helped with the acoustics, added a lot of character and all that. That's that kind of size arrangement. This is that same clear tint. You see the big pot, and when I showed it to you when it was on the ground, and it goes all the way back. You can see the gable end of this is clear. Those have zippers. And if we had wanted to, we could have zipped those out. And not 30 minutes before the party, but the day of or the day before. It was a very big thing then. And I'll tell you a little thing that happened here is I went to, this was a plantation that had a very shady front yard and big oak trees, a lot of spindly big limbs. Well, I drove up and the limbs that had the resurrection fern that had been raining, and a giant limb had just flopped right where I was planning to put this. So we had to haul that off and all that. So you run into another reason why you need an event plan. I guess that's all. So that's one of the points here. And I was talking to a relative yesterday, and she was telling me, oh, God, I have been, because my friend wanted us to help her to do the flowers and this and that. And we tried to do all of that. And she said, every company, like the caterer and the bar, all those companies were hired. But she said there was nobody in charge. There was nobody that could tell us what all was supposed to happen there. So mistakes were made and things happened and it was difficult. And, you know, I'm in the bed. And I said, I'm so sorry. So this is the part. So many people say, well, I can't afford to have a coordinator. And I wouldn't know how to get one if I had one. I was talking to a little parent. She said, people might just want to know what you do to find a coordinator. Well, the main thing is it needs to be somebody that is experienced. Can't be somebody that's 18 or 22 that just helped their sister's graduation and now has a shingle that says she's an event planner. It's got to have somebody that has some real experience. You need to interview these people. They need to, an event planner helps you do everything. They study your yard, help you plan the floor plan, help you plan all of that, or go to the facility where you want to have a wedding and a party. And in this case, the girl didn't know that you could divide that room in half and have half of the, whatever. So that's what I was for. And just a peace of mind of knowing that you have somebody on your behalf that knows every company that is going to be there, what they're supposed to bring, everything. How to deal with the band, how are they going, dealing in Charleston with giant trucks with bands and rentals and things. That's why I'm kind of going to retire here pretty soon. I'm telling you, it's hard. You can hardly get a car there. Not much less giant trucks with all kinds of things that I get and rent and do. And you've got, I like to think that I am a positive person, loves this business, and I love the people, and I love knowing that I can help. But it is hard. It is hard. And you have to have some experience in order to help. Now, how many people in here have already married up their children? A lot. Okay. How many people have children under 20 where you're going to need to do something here in the next little bit? You, man. Okay. Not too many? Just a few? Okay. Okay. It's hard to say how people charge for an event coordinator. It might be a percentage. They might help you decide, okay, we're going to this hotel, we've got this transportation, we've got this caterer, these bars, this so-and-so and all that. And they might take each one like I do and come to the bottom line. Now, I subcontract myself to be the designer and the florist. Now, within that comes draping. That's another company that I pull in. Designing big ones. I don't have time to do these when I'm on site. It has people, my sister, Holly Hill Florist, does things like beautiful bouquets and centerpieces. And I can pick those up and take them with me. She can deliver those to me, whatever. But that's what I subcontract myself. So as I do the line item of who is hired, then I get to make a little bit of money out of the flowers so that I don't have to come to the bottom line and add some whopping amount of money that you're just thinking, I'm just not paying. There's got to be a way to do that. So that's any questions at this point? Because what I'm going to do is just talk a little bit more about, can I tell you one little funny story? I was helping a cousin out of town, and they had their favorite caterer was with us. And we were talking, and I knew everybody. And I said, she's from this area. Anyway, I said, I'll call him Bob. And I said, Bob, what's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you in doing parties and things? Well, I can laugh now, it wasn't too funny at the time. And I said, okay, tell me. So he said, we were on the lake, and the party was in a tent between the house and the lake. We put the tents and all that. And I had the food and the stuff and the flowers and everything, and I thought, oh, Bob, you are good. Everything was beautiful. People were down the street in an old historic church. So Bob said, Doris, I looked out, and he said, the wind and the weather was changing fast. And first came the wind, and it lifted the tent up. One of the poles knocked the DJ's wife in the head, and they had to call the 911. And then there it went, tumbling into the lake. Tablecloths, chairs, tent, weenies, everything flying. He said, and then the rain came. I looked up, and it was black. And the rain, it was just torrential, and it poured. And I thought, okay, I'm in trouble now. This is going to be interesting. So he said, I decided to walk down the street to the church, or get to the church. And he got there, and the minister was saying, oh, we're so happy about Amanda and Andrew getting married here and all that. And Bob was at the back of the church, kind of squeezing water out of his suit. And he said, oh, and we'd like to introduce him. And I think Mr. Bob Smith might have an announcement to make. Well, Bob walked down the aisle, turned around, and said, family and friends, aren't we so tickled about Amanda and Andrew getting married? But I don't think you realize that during this lovely service, we have had some tornadic activity, and the reception is gone. Fell on the floor. But anyway, okay, let me see what I can do. When the planner tells you the reception is gone, that's bad. And see, now we've got radar. I can sit in my car and look at the radar and see where the front is. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Doris, come off, get for Bob. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah? You know how about it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Bob might drive over here. Might be good. Okay. I tell my people some of these stories. There was this wonderful older man that had grown up on one of the islands and was just this gullah, just a great gullah character. And this was a long time ago, and I said, Vincent, yes, ma'am. I said, you know what we have to do? No, ma'am. I said, we have to get liquor and food and go to the sea marina and do a party on a yacht. He said, we do? I said, yeah. I said, so load all this in the truck, got in the truck, got to the marina. And I said, Vincent, yes, ma'am. I said, you see that really big, pretty yacht way down there on the corner? Yes, ma'am. I said, well, that's where we gotta go. And he said, okay, how much? I said, you know what? I don't feel like hauling all this stuff from there all the way over there. Do you? He said, how much you? So I said, you know what I'm thinking about doing? No, ma'am. I said, I'm thinking about driving the truck up onto the dock. It's a big sturdy dock. I know it'll be okay. And going out a little way so we don't have so far. And he said, well, how much you, Mr. And he said, Mr. I said, yeah. He said, you mind if I get out? Get out if you can, swinging in that. people, how long have I gone? What time is it? Am I good on, am I okay on time? Okay, let's go into what you would do or what you want to do. How many people entertain in their backyards or put tents or want to? Gotta think about that. You gotta think about that, and you've got to have help. And you've got to plan way in advance. Because you're making a list of the things you want to do to your house and yard. Okay, I want to paint the garage door, I want to put the floodlights up, and I want to put this in this bed, and all that. And y'all know that pine straw is our friend. And so I got to tell you, I'm almost done. Doing a Nigerian wedding. We have to have this mansion on East Battery that we were able to use. And groom, who's Nigerian, I said, now, Herman, I said, but they've been doing construction. We got to get some pine straw. He said, oh, pine straw, yeah. And I said, we got to get some. He said, I'll go get it. I said, okay, go get it. So he comes back and he said, all right, Mr. Doris, I've got the pine straw. I said, good, good, good. He said, what do I do with it? I said, oh gosh. And you know what? I said, find your future father-in-law, he'll take it. So anyway, okay, so you're gonna have a party at your house. And you're gonna have everything. So you're thinking about your property. You're thinking about, I need to invite the neighbors. I need to alert the neighbors. I need to do these things to my house. Is my backyard the right size for a tent? Could it hold it? The biggest thing is, and I've done this, where I've gone to places and the backyard slopes down to a pond. Well, that's no good, because if the tent is at a slant like this, the water comes off and the water on this side goes through the party, right? So you need to be on flat surface as much as you possibly can. You need to worry about ants and bugs. You need to have your tree man come and see if you need to limb up some of your trees just to be safe and to look better. You need to see how many people have permanent lighting to uplight your trees in your yard. You do? Okay, a few people. For some reason, when people build houses now, they are not running that power and providing you light to come up your trees. Well, you can imagine if we're on a river or wherever, and we put a big tent and there are beautiful oak trees everywhere. If we don't have those oak trees lit, once it's dark, it's black. So I have to walk around the property and decide each one of the trees that have to be lit and all that. And it makes all the difference in the world. You invite people in the daytime so they can know and all about your property. Then when it goes dark, all of your gorgeous trees are lit, whether you're in a solid tent or a clear tent. All right, so you're trying to figure out what else you need to do to work on your property. First thing you need to do is hire an event coordinator and let them help you figure it out. Okay, food, beverage stuff, rentals, tent, whatever, band, whatever it is that you need. That person can help you pick the right subcontractor for your event, whether it's the right food purveyor or the right bar or whatever. These people need to have insurance. They all need to have insurance, because if they're climbing a tent, or they fall off of a ladder, or whatever, or they're a part of the bar and they serve somebody too much, you need to start off by having a rider on your own home insurance that covers you. If any, God forbid, something should happen, you might as well have liquor, wine, and beer, because everybody loves all these fancy beers, and by the time you pay for fancy beer and fancy wine, you can have liquor, wine, and beer and pleased everybody, right? Those are the kind of things that your event person will tell you. All right, so you've got your property. Your event planner will be there when that tent person comes to inspect and decide where you can put it, how high it's gonna go, if you need to cut any limbs, whatever it is needs to happen. Then I would go to the site, meet the rental truck, walk the tent people there, make sure the tent is not only up, but, parallel with the house, not cockeyed or whatever. And that we get the roof and all that we get the power to those tents. Sometimes what we do is when the roof is on the ground, it's up about 10 feet. We can run those power cables up there then, come down the right places, the ribs, and make the hooks and the power and hang the chandeliers from there. Again, so you don't have orange and green extension cords everywhere. So there are things that have to be done like that. I would talk to the rental company and say, let me know, I'll meet you in the road, I'll get you into the place, I'll tell you where to park, where we're gonna put it and everything. Now, today, and this is really important, and I'm really just getting tuned back into how important. I always knew that if we were doing something at somebody's house, you got sprinkling systems, maybe your lights go out there, you got some power that's going. But I was talking to one of the administrators at Snyder Reynolds the other day, and he said, we are so busy that if you haven't started your rental order at least 6 months in advance, then we can't help you. Because we've got every book, every person, everything booked. You can't wait and go, oh, we're gonna have a party in a month. We gotta order a tent in case it rains. Nothing happens like that. You have to have an event person. You have to start, even if you just say, I know I'm gonna have a party on this date. I know I need a tent about 60 by 40. I know I'm gonna need a stage and a dance floor and some tables, chairs, and a shine glass silver. Put me on the books and I'll give you the details later. You've got to do that way in advance. Now, you can order a tent way in advance and put a deposit down on that. And if you cancel it before 90 days prior to your event, you can get your money back. If you wait longer than that, you cannot. And you get part of it. Then when you get to the day or the week of, there's no refund at that point. They have held that tent for you and you're paying for it. And that's why this kind of planning, whether it's at a venue or at your home, has to be done so far in advance. This is not an easy thing. It's not even easy for me, and I've done it for over 40 years. Certainly not. I mean, you don't want to take on that responsibility. And if it's really a special time with your family or a wedding or something, you want to be with your friends and your family and your children. You don't want to be standing in the road waiting for the band truck to come up or trying to get a lace tablecloth to the cake lady. You don't want to do that. You're capable. Every one of you out here, y'all are capable people. You can cook, you can bake, you can garden, you can entertain, you can do all of those things. But when it comes to something like a wedding, you need to be there for your family and your children, and you need to let it go. You need to plan way ahead what you're going to do to your house, plan with your event planner, who you're going to hire, how it's going to work, and you need to let it go and not look at the radar 24 hours a day. I could talk about, there are several different kinds of tents, just so you know. There are pole tents, which are the least expensive. And they're like this on the ground, and you lift these poles up, and it's fabric. So you see them, they have big, pretty swag like that, right? And those are nice. The only thing about them, and even though they're less expensive and have a higher ceiling and have a more dramatic look, they're not as safe as a frame tent, which is some of the ones that you've seen here. A frame tent is just that. It's a metal structure. And every 20 or 30 or 40 feet, however big the tent is, there's a rib and there's fabric, and you're safe under there, unless you have lightning or a really terrible storm. But the most important thing is, and I'll talk to somebody that, yeah, we're going to have the band tent over there, then we're going to have the food tent over there, and then we're going to have the beer and wine bar there, and then we're going to have the liquor bar over there. No, you can't do that. Everything, every company that you've hired has got to fit under 110. One. Because if it rains or mist or anything, those people need to be covered, okay? That's really important. Let me see, I think that's probably just about. Oh, and then, then you need things like, need stage, dance floor, furniture, fans, heaters. You're gonna do valet parking, whatever you're gonna do. There's just a lot to consider, and that's why you hire somebody to help you. Okay. Some of these venues, like I showed you, the Cedar Room and all those places, the Gibbs Museum of Art, all those places have courtyards and all where you can put a tent. And I've had people before spend, I don't know, $15,000 to rent the Gibbs and say, but I don't really like the Gibbs inside so much. I just want to use the courtyard in the back. Really? Because I'm going to have to build and design and charge you for building a ballroom on those grounds after you just paid $15,000 for the building. So you gotta think about, where do you want to spend your money? I'm going to do a couple little demonstrations. Okay, tell you about that, tell you about that. Okay, I was talking about tent. So you have a pole tent, you have frame tents. Pole tent pulls up like that, and all the way around it, they pull it and stake it about 2 or 3 feet, right? You've seen that. The frame tents you have to jackhammer the stake straight down in the ground. If you have a tent that's bigger than 30 by 30, you have to get a permit to do that. And if you decide, the Junior League is going to have a sale out in the parking lot next to Ollie's, you really have to not only get a permit, but have people investigate what's underground. Is it power? Is it gas? You hate to have a real cute Junior League thing and have that part of the Orangeburg blow up, right? And you're trying to have something cute to raise money. And I've had to deal with that before, where we did find gas lines and all underground. And like I said, these tents are so safe because they are jackhammered straight down, 2 at each pole all the way around. And it ain't going anywhere unless you have a pretty big size storm. Wait a minute. All right, I told you about the permits. You don't want to do a clear tent, remember, in the broiling sun. If you have a yard that's shaded almost all day, you can do it, but only in the winter months. And I don't advise having any kind of outdoor party or tent party in the summer months. It's just, you have bugs, you have storms, it's hot. You spend so much money to do this, they need to be comfortable and be able to have fun, right? I mean, how many people have done that? Okay, so that's that. And now I'm just going to show you, let me see. All right. So I have a few friends and people in my Holly Hill Garden Club, the Potpourri Garden Club. And they just said, we want to know how you get to this. How can you make this? And you don't have to be a florist to do this, and I'll show you. Thank you, man. All right, these are plastic. So we could get them here easily. Most of my urns that are this tall are ceramic or dressy or whatever. Man, help me put this on the table, please, ma'am. Yeah. All right, so what I do is start with something like this. This falls apart, I go in, sorry. Okay, then what you need is, if this is going to be outside, you almost need to put a concrete block down in there. Okay, so it's not going to go anywhere. What I did with that is I put a tile, it was a big complete tile, on top like this, just a flat base right here. And then we take some sort of tray. These are floral loamy trays. You do this, you can go to Walmart and get a big lip thing where you put glasses and serve. You put that on top. You put your wet, this is a large, obviously, Oasis block. This has to be very wet. This has to go in whatever tray, and it has to be strapped on, really strapped on. Not every spot, because then you can't stick flowers in it. And wherever you've strapped it on, with this kind of tape, it is Oasis tape, you know, it has to come down and hook to this, and then this actually needs, the whole thing needs to hook to all of this. And you can hide where you're doing that. Okay, so that's how I did that. Then you can take things like, this is bamboo, you can stick that in it, see the 3 pieces of bamboo there. And you want some tall things, thanks, Netta. Something, and this is obviously, this is out of my bathroom shower. And I thought we use it. And so you see how I've got some there, you stick that in there. So you've got your bamboo, something like this. And if you have long things of ligustrum or something, use that. Curly willow, things like that that get this arrangement up in the air. You know, so it's not just a little round puff. Okay, got that. How are we doing on time? What time is it? Okay,
And you
this is
got
the last thing I'm going.
Is the bamboo in the Oasis, or you got it stuck in?
No, I stick it in the Oasis.
And you still got room for all those flowers?
I do. But in this case, I might, in a case where you want the arrangement to be higher
You
and
could
have a lot more surface, because you need to be able to put your flowers at an angle like that too. So you don't want the container to be up to here, then you can't get that. So if you put another one on here, it's this high. And that's good. Then you can really get things up, but you've got 2 big pieces like this or more. I've had openings on big giant urns where I turned a bucket upside down, put a big waiter tray in the thing and put 4 of these. And that really gives you a surface to just do these. And these massive arrangements, not that we're showing out, but it is important when you are going to bother to do something outside or in the church or in your yard or at a venue, you want it to be important enough to remember. And you want it to be to scale, right? You don't want to have just a little church size arrangement and a tent that looks like some of those, okay? So whether you rent trees that are 10 or 12 feet tall, or whether you do these kinds of arrangement, you've got to have a few big, tall, important things. And this is something, isn't that fancy? This is a waiter tray. It's a typical waiter tray. And in this case, I use this a lot, or something like this. The first thing I do is line this with Spanish moss or whatever, put a bowl in here that's got some Oasis up to there, make the arrangement, all right? And then I get somebody tall and strong, and we lift it up. Yeah, I want to put it right in the middle of it. All right. Then we lift it up. In the let's say this is the middle of South Carolina Society Hall. And you don't have a big stage and all there. Well, when you're standing here, you can see through this arrangement. If it was that tall, then the people in the back of this relatively small room cannot see the band or anything. So this is a good one. All right, so you've got the arrangement going on up there. Down here, you have this kind of Oasis. So this is good and wet. Not now, but you get it good and wet. And you put the Oasis in here, out here, around here, up to about there, and you strap it on all the way under the tray. You strap it on the whole thing. So this isn't going anywhere. You don't want people eating and picking up hors d'oeuvres to bump this and have it fall over. If that happens, then I just get in the car and go home. Oh, all right, so you've got all of this in here, and it's wet, it's strapped on, it's not going anywhere, and you're still full of flowers. And that's your centerpiece for that one big ballroom like at South Carolina Society. Give you something big and grand that's up tall, and beautiful there, you can see through it, and then you have something really pretty down here with food display and all this. So that's one thing you can do with this kind of tray. In the meantime, when she's getting this other one, you know how we all have these cubes that we get things in. See, you can get them in colors now. Then you don't have to put a leaf inside to hide oasis. So you can take that, put a piece of oasis in it, and do your flower arrangement. Because when you do cubes or any kind of vase where they're not anchored in a frog or oasis, and you have to move it, you're gonna kind of mess that up. Okay, this is another way. Now I'm gonna wrap this up. Okay, this is so pretty too, isn't it? Okay. An umbrella stand on a waiter tray. So again, you put your oasis, whatever size it is you decided that you need, all around this thing and strap it on. It can come all the way up to here or whatever. And so, hold on, this takes 2 people. So at my daughter's rehearsal, the room was not particularly beautiful. So again, you saw where I had this umbrella and flowers at the, you put this in here. And that's plenty of room. Nobody's gonna hit themselves in the head coming in or out. You fill this full of flowers. Every table has a pretty centerpiece. You've got this. Actually, you could almost use this outside. If you've got everything strapped on here. That's the trick, is rigging things right, taping it, wiring it, whatever. You don't have to cover this with chicken wire. That's what we used to do years ago. But you don't have to do that. You can tape and do, then you've got this surface to build your flower. And so on something like this, you just take your good form and sort of decide how, this is going to be a seated thing where people are looking across at each other, then you would need this to be shorter. If this is just going to be on the buffet table or something, then you can make it as high as you want to. Okay, so here is just use all this stuff. It's right out of my yard. Y'all have all this. It's wonderful. So this is strapped on, and you just go on with all of this oasis and cover that. You can cover this with pretty flat leaves like split leaf philodendron, Fatsia. Any of the flat leaves are perfect just to come out here. A little bit of moss, whatever you want to do. But you see how easy this is. And you go to where's that little pink one? All right, I'm gonna hand you this. So you saw at the Bar Mitzvah, we used the pink, and we did this at different things. And it was so cute. You can do this at a granddaughter's birthday party, a christening, and whatever. It just adds something special to have the little umbrellas and the flowers and all that stuff. And in the case of that one party, I extended this pole, I strapped it to something, and then stuck in there, so you had a dramatic piece. So really, all I want to do now is if any of you have any questions, I'm glad to answer questions. And after that, please, you're welcome to go. If you want to come down here and you have something coming up that you just want a couple of questions, answers to some questions, I'm glad to do that. And also, after it's over, if anybody wants to get my phone number, I am officially retired from taking on these massive projects. Because you know what, I'm moved out. And that's the way it is, and I can't help it. I'm 66, working these 24-hour things, running these things. It's complicated. And it's complicated for me. It's certainly going to be complicated for you, unless you're a professional meeting planner or you're a professional event person. You need somebody to do this for you, believe me. And so I am going to be available in the future for consulting. Let's decide. Amanda's got 3 girls. She said one day she's going to have her weddings on their farm. She'd call me I would go out there and say, this is where I put the tent, this is where I put this is where I put the bathrooms, this is where I let the van pull up, this is where the bar people would park, this is how I would do this. And these are the companies that I know I could trust to help you. And so that's what I'm available to do, is to come with you. If you want me to go with you to a location, we study it and decide what to do, or, you know, you want me to come to your home or whatever. I'm always gonna be available to do that. But taking on the whole thing, you still need to have somebody else to be right with us that will be there and be in charge of everything and know what every single solitary person is supposed to do and provide in their goods and services. Okay, I think that's about all of the, I was talking to my daughter, she said, Mama, that's gonna take you 3 weeks to tell those people all this. I said, I don't, I'm just gonna try. So do any of you have any questions about hospitality or?
You got one in back in the middle there.
I had just a
Yeah.
comment. Would you please talk about the fact that even though the backyard looks flat, it's not, you have to shim the tables?
Yeah,
Would you talk
you
about
do.
that, please?
and where you feel it the most is if you have to put down a dance floor. Because you think, oh, this is flat, this is good for a dance floor. Next thing you know, it's a foot, you know, it's going flat like this and then it drops this much.
And you can buy a package of shims, you know, have with you. And otherwise you have to dig little holes.
Right,
To get the
right.
tables level. But that's, you need a level, and then, you know, even though it looks flat, when you put the table down, there's no
Yes,
shim.
you do need to shim the tables, because tables just have a little leg like that. Same, I mean, you don't want to rent Chivari ballroom chairs for outside because the leg is that big and it's going down in the grass and your guest is going down with it. And so you want to make sure that you have chairs like this that have a wide foot. You know, and those are the kind, and I have people say, well, I want the bottom to be white and the topper to be yellow. Okay, why don't you just get a yellow cloth, and that's one cloth instead of two. And once you pull the chairs up to it, nobody sees that white cloth down there anyway. So that's what the coordinator helps you do, is to come up with your budget. You know, we decide, and most people that are not professional meeting planners, they don't know what a big giant wedding costs. What's this gonna cost? Well, I don't know. What do you want to do? I want to have it here, here, and I've had people walk in, and we were setting a big party up. Okay, we just talked, you just met. Okay, we want to have a historic church in a building like this with food and beverage and so and so. Can we do that for $40,000? No, you can't, because the building itself is 10 or more. You know, the caterers, the things, all that you add on. So you need to be informed before you start planning. Any other questions? Anybody have anything big coming up? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to ask you about, when you're using hydrangeas in some of your arrangements.
Yeah.
Do you pound the stem or do you just stick?
No, they're sent in, they're dry packed, sent in. We get them out of the cellophane, we take the little water thing off the bottom, we cut the stems at an angle, put them in a bucket of fresh water and put them in a cooler. And see, I can put a lot of that in my sister's big floral cooler. If they spend the night, a night or two, then they're gonna act right. If you cut them out of your yard and stick them in a flower arrangement, 4 hours later, they're gone. Because they don't like this. They want fresh water, right? I've heard of pounding the stems. I might have done that, I don't know. Yeah,
So you're saying, like, if I did cut them out of my yard, to put them in the bucket of water and put them in my refrigerator for a couple of days?
yeah, or in your cool house, you know?
For a couple
And,
of days?
yeah, in the house where it's cool, or if you have somebody, or you've got a garage refrigerator, you can take the things out, the shelves out, and put the buckets in there with your hydrangeas, it'll definitely stay longer. The white ones are the flimsiest, right? The blue ones are pretty strong. The antique hydrangeas, which are sort of greenish and pinkish, a little brownish sometimes, not only do they hang on, you can dry them and they're beautiful. So you might want to avoid sometimes the white hydrangeas. Anybody else? Have a question? Okay, Well, listen, this has been so nice. The lunch, this is such a lovely group. I know, and I'm related to most of them. You know, my mama was from here and her family, so many people that I know and love, people that I've done weddings for here. And it really, I want you to know, it's been the joy of my life. It truly has. And if I can help anybody just think through whatever in the future, I'm glad and happy to do that. So I thank you very much for a lovely day. Thank you.
Well, Doris and Janice have taught me so very much today. I know that OCtech is in the business of education, but I really feel like I went to school today and got an education. So we really appreciate that. So just a few little notes here for the end of the day. First of all, I want to thank you again for coming. I want to thank y'all. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank the people who donate auction items. You guys make this event what it is, and we really, really do appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do for the students of OCtech, for scholarships, for programs. That's what the foundation is here for, and it's really true and meaningful to us. We have many volunteers who help with this event, and we could not be more grateful. A few things before you go. There are the garden clubs did put together some beautiful container gardens. Thank you for those. I want y'all to make sure on the way out, if you bid on anything in the auction, please make sure you check the posters to see if you've won anything. And if you bid on it, there are tables to pay located in the atrium. If you purchased heavy items, then Lainey, Michael, some of the event staff will help move and load those items into your car. So they're very glad to help. They always are very helpful. And if you missed out on winning an auction item, have no fear. You do not have to go home empty-handed. There are begonias for sale, and they are $4 each, or $5 or $15. Thank you, High Cotton, for growing those gorgeous begonias for us. They're always a treat to have. OCtech Ag students are also selling plants outside. So if you came in the front doors, you may not have seen it to go out the back doors, and there's a plant sale. There's some beautiful ferns and some succulents. I always kill them. Maybe Amanda McNulty, you could tell me what I'm doing wrong. So also, Chick-fil-A has graciously and kindly donated refreshments again this year. Please don't miss those on the way out. And please put OCtech, the Evening of Fine Wines and Foods on your calendar this fall. We don't have the details on that yet, but when it does come about, we would love to have you all to attend that event as well. Thank you. And I think that ends everything. Thank you for coming.
All right.